Hey, welcome to the Dino and Joe Show. That is Joe. This is Dino. See, I did it again.
You did it again.
Two episodes in a row.
You
I
did it
I
again.
back just to see. Just keep those complaint calls coming.
Yeah,
Just keep
them,
writing those
keep
emails.
them
going. Yeah, I don't know. Just sounded fun.
We're here. Hi.
We are here. Either way, you're you, I'm me, and this is our show.
This is us. Yeah, that's how you should open it.
Right there.
That's
right.
I'm me. You're you. This is us. Here we go.
This is the show. This is what we do for fun. Hope you
this
enjoy.
This is a profession. What are you talking about? I quit my other job.
Oh, did
this
you really?
This is my full-time thing. Yeah.
Wow. I wonder where the $3 and whatever change we made on it on Anchor went to. It went to
that went bye-bye. That went bye-bye.
Okay. That bought me a Happy Meal, sir.
Exactly.
I
That's fantastic.
So I have a question. What are you watching on TV now?
Streaming
TV, like what do you look forward to? Like there's a lot of really cool stuff out there.
Yes.
And I'd like to get into your mind a little bit and find out what it is that Joe's watching, and I'll share some thoughts on some things that I'm watching.
So okay, I would like to preface that I watch television shows current and past simultaneously. So for instance, when we're eating dinner and when we're doing something like that, we will watch the new stuff. So if there's a new television program like that comes out currently, that's what we'll watch. But
you watch while eating dinner.
What's that? Yeah, we watch while eating dinner.
Okay.
Then when we're going to bed, older stuff that we've already seen, that's when we'll keep that on. So I'll give you an example of each.
Oh, wait, we just TV in the bedroom?
Yes.
Oh,
to fall asleep too. Oh yeah, that's it's kind of the white noise in the background that allows us to fall asleep.
Not at my house, not allowed.
No? Why?
No TV in the bedroom.
Why? You don't like it?
Because we would stay up later watching stuff, and we would both have to work in the morning. And I was finding myself still saying that was a distraction. That was not something to help me go to sleep.
It's funny because it used to be that way. Now, when I'm gone, I'm gone. I'm out. We set the automatic timer for like 120 minutes, and then it turns off. And then at that time, that's when we go to sleep, no matter what.
I get invested, and then I'm in. So
well, that's why we watch the old stuff that we've already seen. We know what happens. Like that's why we never put new stuff. You're still invested, no matter what.
I go in. No, can't do it.
So when we're eating dinner, the most recent show we just finished was The White Lotus on HBO Max.
I have not seen that.
It is very interesting. We didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
It is. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I thought it was good.
Okay.
I would suggest it to watch an episode or two to see. I think there were only like maybe 6 or 7. It's one of those things that you can kind of binge, which I appreciate yet don't.
Yeah, and you're a big binger. Like, is that your thing?
Yes. Like, I have been known to. I binged The Sopranos. I watched The Sopranos.
We did talk about this on the
phone
over
maybe 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Like we every time.
But you had not seen it before either.
I'd never seen it before. Tiff had seen it, so she was like, "Yes, we should definitely watch it," and she was 100% on board. And there's like 22 episodes per season, 6 seasons. So like, we went through a lot of television. Hey, it's not TV; it's HBO.
It's HBO.
We went through a lot of television for The Sopranos, but it was really good.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you. So HBO kind of set the trend, right? Like I think a lot of streaming services have picked up on what HBO did, where they created original content, but it was original content. I think The Sopranos are owed some kudos for the fact that set up shows like The Wire, that set up for the ability to do other series. Orange is the New Black, right? Those series really followed, I think, a lot of what they did with The Sopranos, where they made you really care about characters you probably shouldn't care about that much, or you probably shouldn't really root for, and yet you find a way to get behind these characters. And I think there's shows even today doing that now that I think that HBO kind of set that, because it really broke from NBC, CBS, ABC, they were always going to be handcuffed by they can't have certain content.
Right.
Because it's not a subscriber base. Like the original programming they did, and they would push it to when HBO started taking off, they had to try and find ways to make it to at least an area that people, piqued their interest. But I think that the other advantage too was you could put content on that you just couldn't put anywhere else.
Right.
And, and that really, I think, changed the game and allowed streaming to be what it is today, because it allows for a lot of when HBO was winning all the awards for all their shows.
Mm-hmm.
And they started moving into traditional awards, like, it was the ACE Awards, which are a cable award originally.
Mm-hmm.
Then it became like Emmys, and then it became like, and that really, I think, forced things into where we're in a state today where now, Paramount has streaming, and
Mm-hmm.
Peacock is a streaming network. And, so now they can put content like Yellowstone on Peacock
Mm-hmm.
because it could not ever be on TV.
Right.
I will tell you that if you have not seen Yellowstone, it's one of my favorite shows out there.
Okay.
It's
I have not.
well done. Kevin Costner really loves his ranch. Like, he loves his ranch. But I heard all about this show, and then I finally started watching it, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm in on this. And
Okay.
and I'm telling you, it's phenomenal series.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So far we have The White Lotus
Yep.
and Yellowstone. Outstanding. Now hold on. So for my evening watching in the bedroom when we're trying to fall asleep,
Okay.
I watch old stuff that we have both seen and enjoy. For instance, and I've talked about this before, Golden Girls. So Tiff just showed me The Nanny with Fran Drescher.
Oh, no way.
It's not terrible. It's fine. I
Oh,
enjoy it. I
no.
get a chuckle.
That voice. Oh,
I mean,
that voice.
you get used to it after a
I
while,
don't know how
I
you can
guess.
sleep with that. That's like an alarm clock.
It's low enough. I don't know. The two big ones for me, though, Family Matters, Perfect Strangers.
So Urkel
And Cousin
and
Larry.
yeah, Cousin Larry.
Balky
Yeah.
Bartholomew
Yeah.
and Cousin Larry. Yeah, without
I
question.
remember
Those
that when
are
I was younger. That was an okay series. From what I
Perfect
remember.
Strangers was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Lived for that show. I love it. Yes. To this day, that is still one of my favorite shows. When I found it on Hulu, I think it's on Hulu. I was like, we're watching this. I don't care what you say. I love you so much. You can put your headphones in and do something else. We're watching this. And the theme starts. I was like, there we go. There's Cousin Larry moving from Wisconsin right on down to Chicago.
You know what the boys landed on? And now they're like asked to watch it.
What?
And they literally asked for it this way. The French Prince of Bel-Air. They do. Can we watch The French Prince?
French Prince. I love it.
And then Henry doesn't quite get it right. He's like, the guy, and he moves to the place, and then they throw the guy out all the time. Can we watch that? And I die every time.
Great.
Like, but they literally asked for the French
Prince.
Yeah.
Merci, please. That's
if you don't know, go back to episode whatever 1, 2, or 3. It's somewhere in it. And
I think it's titled The French Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah, you'll catch
it's a good
that.
time.
So what's the best thing on TV for you, or on streaming, or that you're watching?
So now this is kind of unfair because I've only seen 2 episodes of it.
Okay.
It's a TV show that you may be familiar with.
Okay. TV or streaming?
It is. I'm so sorry. See, I watch it on TV, so I say it is a streaming show.
Okay.
It is of one particular Mr. Ted Lasso.
Oh, are you kidding? Look at this.
I see that.
Look at this bad boy.
I see that now.
I got my wife the wine tumbler that says "Be a Goldfish." And I bought this guy for myself because I like hats. And that is the best show for me. I was gonna say that is the best show by far of any show that you can watch.
I was going to say because I assumed because it had a soccer theme, you would be interested.
Yeah.
And so I don't even remember how I got onto it. So I don't have Apple TV Plus. That's why I've only seen the first 2 episodes. Okay. I'm very strongly considering it because the first 2 episodes drew me in so much. It would be worth it for that single show alone.
Yes.
And if you don't have Apple TV, do yourself the favor. They give you 2 episodes for free. Watch them. They are phenomenal. It is so funny, heartfelt, well thought out, and it can only go better from there. Like so many people, such as yourself, always tell me great things about it.
Well, I think anybody that was a soccer fan, when the Premier League went to, which is English soccer, and their highest league is called the Premier League, when that league went to NBC, NBC needed something to create this bridge between American audiences and then the audience that is soccer crazy about, European soccer, especially English soccer. And so they created this character called Ted Lasso. And it was a series of parody, like TV spots, right? And it was about this guy that was going to manage a team called Tottenham Hotspur. And Tottenham is a very major team in England, in London. And he was an American football coach that knew nothing about what they call football in Europe. So there were great jokes in there, and it was, a lot of stuff makes it into the show. In fact, a lot of it's in the pilot episode that you can see for free, but it is the first episode of Ted Lasso, the series. A lot of those jokes get retold because they still make sense and they still add into what is that show. And they created this character. People were like, I would like to see more of this, right? And so they added it a second season when they started, with the Premier League, and then suddenly he was like broadcasting in the studio, which is very funny. And then he got a job at another team, which was Leicester, and you can't pronounce it. He says Leicester, right? So, very, very funny. And again, that character just can't continue to get press and momentum, and so that he brings out this show that he wrote with his assistant coach, I believe, is one of his friends from improv acting that they did together. And it is so well written. It's about characters you truly care about, whether you like them or don't like them. You'll not like a character, and 2 episodes later, you're like, oh my God, this is the greatest character ever, right?
Right.
It is phenomenal. There's language in it. There is some sexual situations in it. So it's not necessarily a family show, but it seriously carries from season 1 to season 2, which they're into now. It just gets better. It is so good. And you do pick up a little bit about soccer about it, just because it is a soccer based show, but this show is based in the sport of soccer. It's not about soccer. It's about people. It's about relationships. It's about humor. It's about things that people go through when you don't know they're going through them. They deal with mental health, which I think is phenomenal. But I will tell you, it's the best show I've seen in a long time, and for many reasons. It just brings you joy.
So the other reason I knew I was going to like it, other than the reason I should say the reason I watched the first 2 episodes, was I found out the creator of Spin City, which is one of my favorite shows, Scrubs.
Yes.
I have never seen it, but I've heard a lot of people in Cougar Town. He has made those.
I've never seen that either, but yes, yeah.
But I hear funny things about it. Bill Lawrence is the guy who made those 3 shows, and I love 2 out of those 3 shows. So I was like, this can't be bad. And I love Jason Sudeikis. I think the dude's hilarious.
By far.
And just the amount, like I did a little research on it, right? I looked at the show. I tried to find out some of the things about it, and just the way they do it is so well done.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get one of those, one of them, their Apple TV subscriptions, and watch myself some Ted Lasso. Be in the in crowd.
If you do, because everybody's talking about the show, right? 20 Emmys or whatever, 22 or however many. I mean, just a massive number, right? Like, critics are falling behind it. The fan base obviously is there. The show will continue for as long as they want to do it, or can continue on the same level of, I think, caring about the characters and what happens to them. If a totally different type of show, a totally different show, but also very good on Apple TV, is Jason Momoa in the series C. In the show, like, the whole idea, and I don't want to give too much of it away, but the whole idea is that civilization has failed. And hundreds of years into the future, we find a civilization that has this belief that the punishment of God on the people, because there's so few less people in the world, so they've gone back to tribes, and their belief systems are more about mythical, or whatever they've branched religion off to be from there. But their belief is that God's punishment of mankind was to take away their sight.
Okay.
And so people that can see are now the minority, and are some believe them to be witches, and they hunt them. And there's this whole idea of what happens when you find that somebody can see, versus a society that now believes it's wrong to be able to see.
Right.
And then I don't want to give away too much, but Jason Momoa's character is very, very integral into the story, as far as why it's important of whether people can see or can't see, who his wife is, who his children are, and how they play into the story. It's just gone to season 2, and they brought in David Bautista. So the former wrestler who is also Drax the Destroyer from the Guardians of the Galaxy, and now he plays a part where he is Momoa's brother, and there's a whole thing going on there now, and like it's really, really well done.
That sounds cool.
But totally, like, if you watch Ted Lasso, you're not watching that in the same way. Like it is
Right.
way different headspace.
Well, I mean,
So,
but that's okay. I think sometimes it's nice to have two different types of shows available. You
oh
don't
yeah,
want only
yeah,
serious stuff, only comedy. You want kind of that mixture to
right.
kind of even everything out. Now,
Yep.
I will tell you, it does not come out until Tuesday, the 21st.
Okay.
But I'm going to caution this. So I'm going to give a little preface story. When I see two people I really enjoy are going to be in a TV show together, I'm immediately interested.
Yeah.
Immediately interested. I will
Okay.
give you an example.
Okay.
Billy Crystal, who is to this day one of the funniest people in the world to me. I'll watch him in anything. And somebody, oh my gosh, why can't I think of his name? He played Olaf. Josh Gad.
Josh Gad. Yeah.
Josh Gad and Billy
Yep.
Crystal were in a show on FX called The Comedians.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I was so excited because I
Yeah.
thought they were both very funny. It was going to be great. I don't want to be overly mean, but it was probably one of the worst shows I've ever seen in my life.
Oh no.
It was just I don't know. Like they played up Billy Crystal as being this huge jerk, and like
Yeah.
Josh Gad as being this like hapless like, hey, Mr. Crystal, let me get you whatever. Like it was just
Oh man.
it was very disappointing because it
Yeah.
could have been so good, but they made Billy Crystal such a jerk. It was like not really enjoyable.
Yeah.
So I was very disappointed by that.
Hmm.
Now, with that being said, a few of my I don't know if you know this, one of my favorite movies is The Three Amigos,
Yes.
and two of the Three Amigos are Martin Short and Steve Martin,
Yes.
who will be in a new show along with the wonderful Selena Gomez
Hmm.
on Hulu's Only Murderers in the Building,
Oh, interesting.
which should be very interesting. I don't know the full premise because I really want to be completely surprised about
Right.
what's
Right.
going on with it.
Right.
But it looks very promising. A lot of very solid reviews
Interesting.
from a lot of the critics and whatnot. And it
Right.
is a streaming, obviously, because it's on Hulu.
Sure.
Hulu makes some pretty darn good stuff.
Yeah.
Like there are really no issues with what Hulu's coming out with. So that is something I will tell people to keep a lookout for, and perhaps join me in viewing it on Tuesday because it is very good.
My
It looks
wife is
very good.
very big into the Hulu show, which is oh I just had it for a second. It's not
The
in my
Handmaid's
notes.
Tale.
Yes, that's the one. That's the
That's
one.
yep.
I've seen it a little bit and it's
Yes.
interesting, but
It
I'm
that
not.
is
She's really into that. I'm not that much into it, but I do watch it with her every once in a while.
that's
It's
a heavy
it's
show.
yeah, there's a
That
lot
is a
there.
heavy show.
If you want some other stuff, I don't know if you've seen the series Explained on Netflix. It's like
Explain. That sounds so
30
familiar.
30-minute shows where they just explain stuff.
I love that.
Like
That's
they
like my
explain
wheelhouse.
chess, they
I would love that.
explain money, they explain why royalty exists today. They explain things like the newest one is skin, and they go into like how we take care of our skin and how the soap companies have made you take care of your skin in a way you don't actually need to or should.
Oh,
Um,
oh.
and actually using product to break down your skin cells rather than allow your skin cells to replace themselves. Really
Huh.
interesting stuff. Like very, they explain chess. And one of the fastest growing activities in your house with COVID and the pandemic has been chess. People are taking up chess at all new level now. And then, of course, shows like The Queen's Gambit come out, and then everybody watches that and thinks, "Oh,
Yep.
I need to learn to
I got
play
to learn
chess," right?
chess. Yep. It was
So
the same thing that happened with archery and the
yeah,
Hunger Games, right?
absolutely. Suddenly there was an archer in everything.
Yep.
Um, that's big. We watch, of course, The Mandalorian,
Yes.
Loki,
Loki was one of
waiting
mine
for
too.
those to come back, which are
Yep.
huge. And then I don't know if you've seen the new Marvel animated series, which
What
is
if?
What If.
I have not yet, but I really want to look at that because that looks so interesting.
So I have some of the What If books from when, I collect comic books. I've been doing that since I was a kid.
Right.
And What If was always a big series, which was great because it was always this throw out of what if this happened? Like, what if Tony Stark never became Iron Man?
Right.
What if Captain America became Iron Man?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So things like that. Like it's actually really, really cool. But I've been waiting for a few shows because we watched the first one,
Mm-hmm.
which is what if Agent Carter became Captain America?
Oh.
So she becomes Captain Carter.
Okay.
And yeah, so very, very cool. Like it's really, really interesting.
That's
Um,
super interesting.
yeah, yeah. And it's very well done. The animation's great. Totally cool series. But that's kind of the big ones that we're watching. But
So
that's the biggest one right there.
that's one I will
Go
also suggest
Greyhounds.
to people based off of two episodes. I'm telling you, it's great.
Yeah.
There are two more shows that I will talk about.
Okay.
Number one is it's not a new show, but it is a new season, the final season. Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh no, can't get behind that.
Oh, I
Can't get
enjoy
behind
that
it.
show. It's silly
Nope,
and goofy. This
that is
year
a turnoff for me.
they're taking on a lot of the serious issues that have gone on in the world in the last year and a half.
Okay.
Both the pandemic, civil unrest, just all these different things, and I think they're doing it in a really good way. I'm a huge fan of the show. Before that, I thought it was super funny. They're still taking that humor piece and turning it into a serious piece as well, which I appreciate and like. But yeah,
Sure.
that's one of
Yeah.
my favorites. I love that show.
Couldn't get behind that show. I tried, didn't like it.
Not for you.
Was my
That's all
thing.
right.
No. Nope.
The other one that I think apparently I did not realize had such a cult following, and I trailed off, but now that I know it's coming back, I will definitely finish it. Is Manifest.
And I didn't get that.
So
That's
they ended season 3 and
right.
Netflix canceled it. Or, I'm
Right.
sorry, that NBC canceled it.
NBC
They
canceled
said
it.
we're
Right.
done. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. That's unfortunate. But there was this unexpected outpouring of every human being on the planet saying, why? Well, Netflix does what it does best and picked it up and said that there will be a final season 4 to finish it off, because they left season 3 on a huge cliffhanger, apparently. Like a huge cliffhanger, and people were losing their minds. So apparently they will get that resolution of episode or season 4, which is a good thing. But
Maybe I'll
I
have to go back and check it out. But I tried, and I even the first I was like, yeah, I don't
we
get it.
fell off, I think, season 2 at the end.
Yeah.
Season 3 is where we just didn't pick up
Yeah.
again.
Right.
And now that I know it will actually finish in some way, there's a point to finish watching it. So why not?
There you go. We don't need a book club because we got a TV club. So if you'd like to join, watch our
Sure.
shows and tell
Yep.
us what you think. It's the Dino and Joe Show. It's the Dino and Joe Show. Welcome back. That's Joe. This is Dino and Joe. Something I want to talk to you about.
Yes. This is very
Things
scary.
that I think reveal so much about us sometimes.
Uh-huh.
You have no idea either.
I have no idea. This is fresh
What?
new.
What was your first job?
My first job. Okay.
Yes.
Well, so my first job was a part-time sales associate.
Was it something you aspired to, or was it a job you just took because it was a job?
Oh no, actually, I was about to lie to you. That was not my first job. My first job. So here was the deal. I had to start working because I wanted a car, and my parents were like, "We're not just buying you a car. You need to work in order to get a car." I said that makes sense. So I found a place. Now I don't know if you had this by you, but in the Chicagoland area, there was a thing called Cutco knives. So it was basically a pyramid scheme.
Of course
what
it
was. Of
right.
course it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, all right. I was into it. So I found this job. They were talking about paying like $20 an hour. All you had to do was this. I was like, and this was back in like 2003, 2002. So like that's a lot of money back then.
Sure.
So it's like, cool. And this guy, he's this smarmy guy in a suit with his slicked up hair. He's like, "Hey guys, my name's Stan Stevens, and I worked my way up from where you're sitting right now to general manager of this whole place. And you can do it too. All you have to do is give us $135 for your own set of Cutco knives. You will walk door to door and you will sell these Cutco knives. I will suggest you talk to your family, your friends, your relatives, anybody you know, they need Cutco. Now let's get out there and sell some stuff." So I sat through that, and I told my parents, I was like, "All right, I need 135. I need $135 to buy these knives." And they're like, "Nope, you're not doing this. Nope, forget it." So then I got out of Cutco knives, and then I became a part-time sales associate at Play It Again Sports, which is Play It Again Sports,
right? So for a man who didn't like sports, you went and got a sports job.
It was they were hiring, and it was easy enough.
Not only sporting goods, used sporting goods.
So it was a very small shop run by John and Cindy Carroll. They were nice enough folks. I learned a lot of things there about sports equipment. I learned how to sharpen skate blades. I learned how to tape hockey sticks. I learned how to assemble pretty much every type of gym equipment there is. And
you had no idea that you just didn't even care to watch any of those sports that you could sell the equipment for.
Oh, I knew I didn't care. I knew that, but they said I needed a job, and that paid.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was within like maybe a 10-minute drive of my house, so it was totally fine. Yeah. That was my first job ever. It was.
There you go.
And it didn't get much better eventually after that, I started officiating.
Yeah.
Pretty much as not a full-time job, but something that I did that definitely supplemented income for other jobs that I hated.
Right. My first job was a bright yellow lawnmower and a gas can.
Okay.
And I would mow yards for people.
Sure.
And I ended up mowing the yard. So I put an ad in the paper, right, in the classifieds, because that's how you did it back when I grew up as a kid in a small town in Iowa. And I put an ad in the classifieds, and this person called me, and she asked me to mow the yard, $20, mow your yard. Okay, cool.
Okay.
And then her husband was in prison.
Oh, boy.
Because he was the leader of a motorcycle gang.
Oh boy.
So, and her name was Bambi, and I'm not joking. That was her name. And I mowed their yard, and then she was like, I got this friend, and he needs his yard mowed. I'm like, cool. And so she supposedly set it all up, and I showed up, and I'm mowing the guy's yard, and I get 3/4 of the way done, and the guy comes out and says, and he's a big biker dude, and I'm a 14-year-old kid, right?
Right.
And he says, what are you doing? Right. And I'm like, I'm supposed to come mow your yard, right? And he's like, I'm not paying you for that. I didn't set that up. I didn't ask you to mow my yard. And what was I going to say to the guy?
Right.
So I literally had 3/4 of the lawn mowed, and I just packed my stuff up and left. Like, nope.
All right.
Next week I was mowing Bambi's yard again, and we just never even talked about it. Never brought it up. I was too scared to death. And I was like,
that's hilarious.
I remember when Bambi's husband got out of prison.
Don't you know you're never supposed to mow another man's yard?
I bet.
That is like one of the classic sayings. You're never supposed to mow another man's yard.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I had like just different jobs mowing yards, and I made some money, and I bought my first car with that for $500 in an auction.
That's awesome.
It's literally how I bought my first car. And then shortly after that, I got the job at the radio station in my hometown. And I'll tell you this story because like it was weird, right? In the sense, my brother worked at the radio station. He's 2 years older than I am. So I had been around radio station a little bit, right? And I knew how to queue up a record because I still used records at the time, right?
Sure. And
there's a trick, like the turntables in a radio station, when you queue up a record, if you see a radio board, right, all these slides, right, and you take the slide that controls that sound for that turntable, and you pop it down, and it's called a cue speaker, and it's underneath your board, and it's a speaker you can hear what's going to happen before it plays over the radio. And you take the record and you find the beginning of the song and you pull it back a half turn, because there's this thing called cue burn. And if you try and like just let it go, the record has to get up to speed to play. So you make sure that the record's playing at the right speed. You hold basically the record a half a spin or 3/4 of a spin before it starts. And then the talent is you pot it up and you let the record go, and it has to segue, you don't want it there. And so I could do that. Like I could queue up a record. And so I came in for the interview, and they asked me to queue up a record, and I did it. And they asked me to put another record on the air, and I did it. And the guy says, can you do that for 4 to 6 hours? Sure. That's easy, right? No problem. And then this was an AM station. The FM station was automated. So you had to like monitor the automation system, make sure the right reel was playing when whatever. So I was like, yeah, I can do that. Cool. You'll start Sunday morning, be here at 6 a.m. because at that time, the radio station signed off at night.
And then signed back in.
It was 24 hours. Totally different than what the world is today. So I show up. I'm early, right? And I get in, and okay, here's how we start the day. And then he hands me this gigantic folder, and he says, at the top of every hour, we do 15 minutes of news, weather and sports. Good luck. At that time, no one had ever asked me or talked to me about talking on the radio.
Right.
I thought I was just going to play records. Right. I don't know why I didn't think about talking. I knew everybody talked on the radio, but I had never done it before. I didn't know what to do. And inside this folder, there were news stories, and there were, sports stories and sports scores. And he left. And he left me in this radio station by myself at 15 years old going, okay. And so at the beginning, top of the hour, 6 o'clock, I sign the radio station on and I try and do news, weather, and sports. And it's so bad. It's so awful, right? And it's like it's supposed to be 15 minutes. I think it's like 25 minutes, right? Because I don't know
Right.
what I'm doing. And I pull it down and then I get the record playing. And, at this point, I'm like, thank God I don't have to do that for another, 35 minutes. Because
Right. You got some time to think about it.
and every radio station studio has what they call a hotline, and it's a direct line to the studio that the person who runs the radio station can call you and basically yell at you privately.
Sure.
And so it rings right as soon as I get done, and I answer it. And he says, "Hey, you know what? Really great job. Don't do so many sports stories next time." Click. And I was off and running.
There's
My
your radio
radio
career.
career. And yeah, so I literally had to do that. And then I got to a certain point, I think it was like 2 hours in, you started playing all the church programs because it's Sunday
Okay.
morning.
Oh,
So
okay. Sure.
you were just filling in for a couple of hours of on air time until they got to the church programs. And then the church programs, like some were live, some were on recorded or whatever. And you just sat there and let them play and ate your breakfast and read the newspaper because that's what you did on a Sunday
Yeah.
morning. Yeah. So, but that was my introduction into the world of radio it was pretty interesting.
Well, I mean, getting into the whole played against sports thing, like not knowing anything about sports, I've broken a lot of people's blades on their skates when I was trying to learn how to sharpen skates. Like I would put some pretty big divots in there.
Yeah.
And God love John and Cindy Carroll. They paid for a lot of it.
Oh yeah.
And they never made me pay for it, thank God. But it was one of those things where I started doing like a lot of those little jobs, and then I got into the more tech type of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brookstone. Do you know Brookstone?
I know Brookstone.
They're
Yeah,
in a
you
lot
can
of
find them.
malls and whatnot.
You
It's
can
just like,
find them in some of the greater airports in the world.
yes, great, like crazy tech stuff that's
Yeah.
unnecessary.
Yeah.
No need for it,
Right.
but it's there. So I sold people, like that was one of the first places I saw outside of a mattress place that sold Tempur-Pedic mattresses.
Yeah.
And I would always get yelled at because on my breaks, I would go lay on the Tempur-Pedic mattress on the floor, and because it's my break, and I didn't have anything on. I would take a nap, and the managers
Oh
would come out and be like,
man.
"Joe, you can't do that." And I was like, "Why not? I don't have anything that says the company's name on it, and I am tired." So I had a long day yesterday,
It's really
Frank.
hard
So just
working
give
here.
me a second. Yeah, it's very difficult working here. Uh yeah, that last, and then after that is when I started really officiating more to
Yeah.
sort of supplement the income, and then my
Yeah.
other jobs came around. But yeah, those were the two big first ones that were something.
So in radio, you didn't make a ton of money, right? And
Yeah.
I was working part-time at a radio station when I went to college, and
Hmm.
I needed more money. And so I got a job as a security guard.
Oh,
And yeah, that's not a job you want to do. Not really.
where was it? What was it for? Like, what was the?
I had two regular jobs when I was a security guard. On weekends, I would be a security guard at a hotel,
Okay.
and I got called to the parking lot one time because some guy was beating up a car, and some guy was kicking in the front of this car, like he was just bashing, and this
Going to town.
crowd of people had gathered, right, and he was just
Sure.
going to town on the headlights of this car with his foot. And I come out there, right? And again, I'm a college kid, right? I'm not imposing or big. I'm just
Hmm.
loud,
Hmm.
right? I'm like, what are you doing? Right? And everybody stops. The guy's like, it's all right, it's my car. And I go, no, it's not. And he goes, no, I can prove it. He goes in and literally gets his license and registration and shows them to me and they match. And he's just kicking the crap out of his own car because he wants to.
Okay.
And I'm like, hey, everybody, nothing to see here. Like, everybody go
Have a
back
good day.
inside. I turn to the guy, go, it's your car and do what you want. I
Yeah.
can't,
I can't stop you
okay.
from beating your own stuff up. Like, do what you want.
So that
That's
was one.
hilarious.
Yeah, I used to walk the hallways of a hotel until like 3 o'clock in the morning
Hmm.
when there was a shift change. And that was not exciting. That was probably the most exciting thing that ever happened there. And then I had to do high school football games.
Okay.
And, high school football game, like, you're just trying to like have nothing happen.
Yep.
And I'm trying, and we got these radios on and they're calling out to each other for this stupid stuff going on, kids doing this, kids doing that, whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, well, everything's fine where I'm at, right? No, nothing.
Yeah.
And then right as the supervisor guy is coming up to me, some kid gets sick and it smells, and I just know it right away. I'm like, he's been drinking a
Right.
lot, and he
Right.
just roused everywhere. And he's like, you got to take him in. I'm like, I'm
Take
not.
him in.
Like, where am I going? I had to walk this poor teenage kid down to the police officers because he was drunk. And, this is the last, actually, this is the last time I ever worked there. And I walked him down, and I'm like, hey, go into the bathroom and clean yourself up. Number one, like, this is
Right.
just
Just
ridiculous, right?
please. Yeah.
And then as we're walking, I'm like, okay, I've got him down here, and we turn the corner around the concession stand. I'm like, just go and get out
Go.
of here. Like,
Right.
I'm not
Be
doing
on
that.
your way. Do your thing.
I'm
I'm not
like,
doing
I'm
that.
like, I'm not ruining
I'm
some
not
kid's
doing that.
life because he made bad choices. Like, that's for him. I'm like, no. His friends were sober and they were with him. He wasn't driving or anything like that.
Right.
Like, I was like, this is the last time. And I called
Yeah.
off of every shift after that. I was
Well,
like,
there
no,
you go.
not doing this anymore.
Well, after, now that I'm thinking about it, I had a summer job that I had to get. And my mom knew somebody who was a telemarketer.
Ooh.
So I was a telemarketer for a summer.
Yeah.
But I was not the type of person who called somebody at home during their dinner. I
You
called
called them at work.
I called at hotels at work. So I would call a hotel at work and I'd be like, hi, bring, hi.
Yeah.
This is Joe. Is Mr. Stanley there? I don't know why Stanley has been a reoccurring theme
Yeah.
in several
Yeah.
episodes, but it is. Is Mr.
What you want
Stanley
to
there?
know.
Yeah, hang on a second. Okay, cool. Hey, this is Mr. Stanley. Hey, Mr. Stanley, this is Joe from Sealy Posturepedic. I would love to know if you have 2 minutes to take a quick survey. And the amount of obscenities that people say, like, no offense, you're doing work. It's not like I'm catching you at dinner with your family. Like, just take 2 seconds and say, yes, we use Sealy, or no, we don't. Are you interested in looking at new ones? Thank you. Have a good day. That was literally, I asked like 5 questions. It was nothing. The number of obscenities. So it was a work from home gig. The
Right.
first 3 days I had to train in the office, and then the rest of the summer I did work from home. Sounded great. I worked from home, had a basement, computer set up, phone. The way they knew if I was making calls was I had to use a call card that tracked every call. So, the first several weeks I was boom, boom, boom. And then it started slowing down slowly because I realized I worked from home. So I'd make like
Yeah.
7 phone calls and then I'd play my guitar for a little bit. And I'd be like, because I could make some calls. So I make a couple more calls and then I watch TV and then just this whole thing. And then they heard about this call. I had gotten fed up to this point. So I called this guy, hey, how you doing? And he was like, yeah, don't ever call here again. And hangs up on me. So I beep, beep, boop, boop,
Called him
boop, beep.
back.
I call him
Absolutely.
back. And I'm
I
like,
would.
give me him again. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, hi, this is Joe from Sealy Posturepedic. I hang up on you. Boom. And I hung up on him. And then my boss found out about that and also realized I wasn't making calls. And I think the exact words were, Joe, yeah, this isn't going to work for us. A client said that you called him back and told him we hang up on you and you haven't been making calls. So you're fired. You will get a paycheck for whatever we owe you in the next 3 to 5 weeks. And
3 to 5 weeks.
yeah,
They were
I was
holding
like,
that.
okay. And then she was like, yeah, and you'll probably never work for us again. So thanks a lot. Bye. And I was like, all right, that's
You
fine.
should apply and see if they'll hire you today.
Should, right? I don't even, oh no, I remember it was called Market Source. Telemarketing.
I'm just wondering if you have this like innate need for naps in your life
I love naps.
because you worked at 2 places that sold mattresses.
I love naps. So I didn't sell mattresses. I worked for a company that sold mattresses.
Yes.
I was very interested in what kind of hotel mattresses they use.
You were mattress adjacent.
Mhm.
It's
Always.
the Dino and Joe Show.